first thing you will notice is actually that we were busy reframing a lot, actually. We were reframing the assignments we got, and we were reframing the project itself. But this has all to do with the actor involvement and also with the teamwork of us working on this. So the initial title was Digital Pakistan for All. And we decided to add a question mark to that topic, to that title, because we were feeling that in the whole project setup there was a strong normative component. We're not agreeing on, and actually we structured the project a bit differently, starting with the current situation about the digital divide, and also already there integrating some options. Are we going for 100% digital option, or are we also considering other options and parallel strategies and so on? Second assignment was the key factors for digital inclusion, and we also reframed this in terms of different options again. What's the current situation? What are the expectations? And actually to investigate further the question, what does inclusion imply? For that we wanted to investigate different domains, the use of IT with friends and relatives, in the political sector, in the business sector, in the administration and in education. And again, we wanted to explore different options by creating scenarios, making assessment and strategic options. I don't really remember why this smiley is here, but we were, yeah, exactly, moving away from the strong consensus expectation that the board member put in the project framing, by instead of trying to find a consensus and exploring options, we think that it's much more easier to have people to talk together if they don't have to find a consensus, because they can agree that they disagree on some points. And the point is to actually find these points out. Then the last thing is possible strategies and political action proposals. As I said, reframe from a consensus objective to understanding the arguments, map out the different opinions and different positions of the actors in the field.
Microphone switch, okay. So as Benedikt mentioned, for us it was important to find out what does inclusion actually imply. It can be a very nuanced thing, so it doesn't have to be you're included or you're excluded, but there are maybe different stages to it. So our first idea was to just collect data and to kind of map the scene. And so I'm not going to mention it all, but we have different groups that we will, ask for information, for data, but also question. So we have the educational sector, because they deal with maybe people in adult education that maybe struggle with access to the digital infrastructure. Then we have the experts, like the providers, so what are the actual numbers, how many people have internet in their houses, the public administration, what future expectations do they have regarding e-governance, then science and innovation, so what do practitioners from other countries say to this topic, and the CSOs, so how do they deal with the topic? So just basically mapping the scene with always the question in mind, what does really inclusion imply? And you can see here the arrows, so it's kind of a reflection after we've collected the data, and then really ask, okay, what was our beginning question, and what did we find in the field? What does it actually mean to be included? And as described in the project description, we kind of have a divide between this, the digital divide is made up between physical access, so who has a computer, and the skills that you need to access it. And we kind of added this point of also awareness and critical thinking, because it can be that that you have skills, the technical skills to access the internet, but you're not really aware of privacy issues, for instance. So here we want to ask the key actors, and we deliberately moved away from talking about them as citizens or experts, because we think that they're maybe both at the same time. So we refer to them as key actors. Let's see, what do we have here? Yeah, and strategies regarding all of this is that we suggest research for more information, and I don't remember what this was, public administration, what we meant by this.
It's for the part of who will be asked.
Yeah, who will be asked, exactly, public administration. So this is basically where we are at now. So we've mapped the field and found out the key actors regarding inclusion. Over to you, Nina.
Difficulties we might have encountered, but we found a solution to all of them, because that's how we do it in Pakistan. First, we were a little bothered with the normative framing of digital inclusion, like who says that 100% digital inclusion is a goal you want to achieve in the first place. So one of our solutions was to reframe the project. As Benedict mentioned, reframing is a good solution for a lot of problems. So we just considered the project on digital inclusion being more flexible. So instead of saying we want digital inclusion, how do we reach it, we strive more for what are different options, like if politicians decide to go towards digital inclusion, what are the obstacles, what are things they have to take into account. Then what else? Finding the right experts and convincing them to participate. Well, actually TAO is a very high prestige organization, so experts should feel flattered to participate, and also we should include them by recognizing that TA is a learning process, so that feedback is very welcome, so we could also take their expertise into account. Then that's quite similar. If the project is too rigid, we cannot really deal with the interesting parts and the important issues. Again, reframing might be a good option. Then we also didn't agree on the goal that we have to reach an entire consensus of everything, because if everybody agrees on something, this normally is on such a general level that it's like meaningless. So we found that perhaps it would be more interesting to define different levels of inclusion, and also, like, say, from the citizen's point of view, it's important to take that and that into account. And from a political perspective, you might consider, consensus like that. And then also give it back to the key actors and make them read it and see if they agree. Then we would try not to make stereotypes and consider different levels of inclusion. That I mentioned that. And yeah, the project would be more conditional, more based on if you want to get that and that, then you should do this and this. Another problem you might encounter is that there is a lack of information. In our paper it was mentioned that it's difficult to find a criteria for digital inclusion. How do you measure that? So one way to encounter that would to conduct qualitative research and then follow up with quantitative research. And also if we go to people and say, like, yeah, you're digitally excluded, it feels like, a little arrogant. So we should not go away from that normative perspective and try to say like, we make a study on digital inclusion, or we are interested in how you want to deal with it. So we should at the beginning define ethical issues, include ethical advisors, also be transparent about our goals. Like we do not want digital inclusion to be the goal, we just want to know what you think about it. Yes, I think that's it. And then for the next steps, first of all, we want to launch a debate on digital inclusion, and we thought that from the data collection we got a lot of input on different point of views. So one way to get an interesting debate would to develop different scenarios, like somebody who says like digitalization is totally for nuts, out of it, and so, or others that are totally technocratic and believe that this is the only way. So we would invite people with different lifestyles, different opinions, and just let them debate about it and see what arguments are raised.
Did you want to say something about where this is going?
Yeah, and of course that would be held at a place where there is no reception whatsoever, so either in a bunker without Wi-Fi, or on a beach, or on a ship, I don't know. Yes, so in general we want to invite some people who can give a provocative input just in order to get interesting opinions. Another step might be, because we of course encountered the subject and the topic of privacy, but we found that it's like it's just too broad, so that would be an interesting follow-up project. And also especially what are the skills you need to deal with the data and with privacy. And also of course the study on foresight and anticipation, so we get data about like what's the present, so like we would be interested in how is it going to be in the future.